The following is a comprehensive narrative of the Meerut murder case involving Muskan Rastogi and the death of Saurabh Rajput. This account is reconstructed from police reports, media coverage, and court documents available as of early 2026. The Blue Drum Horror. The full story of the Muskan Rastogi case. Prologue. The silence in Indirapuram. In mid-March 2025, a heavy, unsettling silence hung over a rented house in the Indirapuram area of Meerut, Uttar Pradesh. To the neighbors, the young couple living there, Saurabh Rajput and his wife Muskan, seemed like a typical family, albeit one that kept to themselves. Saurabh, a merchant navy officer, was often away for long stretches, a reality of his profession that left Muskan alone for months at a time. But in the second week of March, the silence was broken not by the return of the sailor, but by the frantic worry of his family and a foul, undeniable stench seeping from the locked residence. What police found inside would shatter the quiet of the neighborhood and send shockwaves across India. It was not just a murder, it was a crime of calculating brutality, involving a love triangle, a gruesome cover-up, and a blue plastic drum filled with cement that became the tomb of a husband who had simply returned home to celebrate his daughter's birthday. This is the full story of the conspiracy, the execution, and the chilling aftermath of the Muskan Rastogi case. Chapter 1. The Merchant Navy Officer and the Housewife. The story began years before the crime, rooted in the complex social fabric of middle-class India. Saurabh Rajput was a man of ambition and responsibility. As an officer in the Merchant Navy, he spent the majority of his year traversing the oceans, earning a substantial income to support his family back in Meerut. He was described by his family as a devoted son and a caring father to his 6-year-old daughter. He saw his work as a means to provide a luxurious life for his wife, Muskan Rastogi, and their child. Muskan, on the other hand, lived a life of waiting. While financially comfortable, the long separations inherent in a mariner's marriage reportedly created a void. Before her marriage to Saurabh, Muskan had a life filled with school friends and youthful romances, chapters she had ostensibly closed. However, the past has a way of resurfacing. In 2019, 3 years after her marriage to Saurabh, the digital age facilitated a reconnection that would prove fatal. A mutual friend created a WhatsApp group for their old schoolmates from class 1 to 8. Among the members was Sahil Shukla, a childhood acquaintance of Muskan. What started as casual nostalgia in a group chat quickly spiraled into a rekindled intimacy. Chapter 2. The Third Angle. Sahil Shukla, unlike the disciplined and successful Saurabh, was a local presence. He lived only minutes away from Muskan's home in Meerut. The proximity and the shared history fueled an intense extramarital affair. While Saurabh was miles away at sea, Sahil became a fixture in Muskan's life. For nearly 5 years, the affair continued in the shadows. Neighbors and relatives later reported seeing Sahil frequently, though the true nature of his visits was often disguised under the veil of friendship. However, as the emotional dependency grew, so did the friction. Saurabh, though absent, was still the husband, the legal partner, and the obstacle to Muskan and Sahil's desire for a life together. By early 2025, the dynamic had shifted from a clandestine romance to a desperate conspiracy. Saurabh was aware of the tensions in his marriage, though perhaps not the full extent of the betrayal. Reports suggest he had refused Muskan's requests for a divorce, determined to make the marriage work for the sake of their young daughter. For Muskan and Sahil, this refusal was the catalyst. They decided that if Saurabh would not leave legally, he would have to be removed permanently. Chapter 3. The Blueprint of a Murder. The planning phase of the crime, as uncovered by police investigations, was chilling in its premeditation. It was not a crime of sudden passion, but a meticulously researched project. In late February 2025, just days before Saurabh was due to return from his voyage, Muskan began her preparations. Police analysis of her internet search history revealed a disturbing query log. She was researching sedatives, poisons, and methods to dispose of a human body. On February 22, Muskan visited a local doctor complaining of anxiety and depression. She obtained a prescription for sleeping pills. Unsatisfied with the potency or quantity, she reportedly manipulated the prescription and used it to purchase a large cache of sedatives from a pharmacy in the Karnagar market. Simultaneously, the duo prepared the tools for the grim task ahead. They purchased 2 heavy meat cleavers choppers for 800 rupees, razor blades, and several rolls of heavy-duty polythene bags. They were setting the stage for a perfect murder, anticipating Saurabh's return for his daughter's birthday on February 28. Saurabh returned to Meerut on February 24. For a week, he lived in the house with his assassin, celebrating his daughter's birthday and visiting relatives, unaware that the countdown to his death had already begun. Chapter 4. The Night of the Lauki Kofta. The date set for the execution was the night of March 4, 2025. The evening began with a domestic veneer. Saurabh had visited his mother, Renu Devi, earlier that day. She had packed him his favorite dish, Lauki Kofta bottle gourd dumplings in curry, to take home for dinner. When Saurabh returned to his rented house, Muskan took the food to the kitchen to reheat it. It was in the privacy of the kitchen that she crushed a lethal dose of the accumulated sleeping pills and mixed the powder into the thick gravy of the kofta. Saurabh, trusting his wife, ate the meal. The sedatives took effect quickly. Within an hour, the merchant navy officer, a man of physical strength and stature, slumped into a deep, drug-induced unconsciousness. Once Saurabh was incapacitated, Muskan signaled Sahil. The lover arrived at the house around midnight. What followed was a scene of horrific violence. According to police reports and confessions, the duo dragged the unconscious Saurabh from the bedroom. They did not want to kill him in the bed to avoid soaking the mattress in blood. They moved him to the floor. Sahil allegedly took the lead, stabbing Saurabh repeatedly in the chest to ensure he was dead. But the horror did not end with the murder. Determined to dispose of the body without a trace, they dragged the corpse to the bathroom. Using the meat cleavers and razors they had purchased days earlier, they began the gruesome process of dismemberment. They severed the head and the hands, parts that could most easily identify the victim. The body was chopped into multiple pieces. The brutality was compounded by a bizarre psychological detachment. Reports indicate that after the dismemberment, Muskan and Sahil stayed in the house with the remains. Sahil allegedly kept the severed head in a separate bag in a room he was using, while the torso was temporarily hidden in the storage cavity of a bed. Chapter 5. The Blue Drum and the Cement. The disposal plan centered on a large blue plastic drum, a common household item in India for storing water or grain. Sahil purchased the drum from the Gandagar market the following day, along with sacks of cement and construction dust. They placed the dismembered body parts into the drum. To mask the smell and permanently seal the evidence, they poured a concrete mixture over the remains, filling the drum to the brim. The cement hardened, turning the plastic container into a solid, heavy monolith of evidence. They pushed the drum into a corner of the house, likely intending to dispose of it in a river or a desolate area once the heat died down. To clean the house, they used arguably the most cliché yet effective method, bleach. Bottles of bleach were poured over the bathroom tiles and the floor where the dismemberment occurred, scrubbing away the blood to the naked eye. Chapter 6. The Manali Escape. With Saurabh gone, and the body sealed in cement, Muskan and Sahil initiated the next phase of their plan, the normalcy ruse. They took Saurabh's mobile phone to create digital alibis. Whenever his family messaged, they replied with texts saying he was busy, in a meeting, or traveling. Then, in a display of callousness that would later turn public opinion heavily against them, the couple went on a holiday. They traveled to the scenic hill stations of Himachal Pradesh, Manali and Kasol. While Saurabh's body decomposed inside a concrete block in Meerut, his killers were posting updates and enjoying the snowy landscapes of the Himalayas. They spent days hopping between hotels, celebrating their freedom. They even used Saurabh's money to fund the trip. It was during this trip that the cracks began to appear. The lack of voice calls from Saurabh made his parents suspicious. A text message can be faked, a voice cannot. Chapter 7. The Discovery. By mid-March, Saurabh's mother, Renu Devi, was frantic. Her son had not spoken to her in days, which was unlike him even when he was at sea, let alone when he was on leave in Meerut. She visited his house in Indirapuram but found it locked. She filed a missing person report. The Meerut police, initially treating it as a standard missing person case, tried to trace his phone. The location data pinged in Himachal Pradesh, confusing the narrative. Was he on a trip? But why wasn't he answering? The police broke into the rented house in Meerut to search for clues. The house seemed empty, but the air was thick with a strange, damp odor. In the corner of a room, they found the blue drum. It was unusually heavy. When the officers managed to pry it open or cut through the plastic, they were met with the horrifying sight of human remains encased in concrete. The missing person case instantly turned into a high-priority murder investigation. Chapter 8. The Arrest and Confession. The police tracked the location of Muskan and Sahil, who were still in Himachal Pradesh or had just returned. They were apprehended and brought in for interrogation. Initially, Muskan tried to mislead the police, spinning stories about Saurabh leaving on his own. However, the physical evidence was overwhelming. The call records between her and Sahil, the purchase history of the knives and cement, and the CCTV footage of them moving the drum were irrefutable. Under sustained interrogation, Muskan broke down. She confessed to the crime, detailing the drugging, the stabbing, and the dismemberment. She revealed the motive. Saurabh was the obstacle to their love. She also exhibited a chilling lack of remorse in the initial stages, justifying the act as necessary for her happiness. Sahil also confessed, corroborating the timeline. He admitted to wielding the knife and the cleaver. A particularly heartbreaking detail emerged regarding the couple's 6-year-old daughter. During the investigation, it was reported that the child, perhaps witnessing snippets of the horror or the movement of the heavy object, had innocently remarked to a relative, "Papa is in the drum." The child had been in the house while her father was being butchered and sealed away. Chapter 9. The Legal Aftermath in a Jail. Birth. The case moved swiftly through the legal channels due to the high-profile nature and the brutality involved. Muskan and Sahil were charged with murder, Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code, conspiracy, Section 120B, and destruction of evidence, Section 201. As the case proceeded through 2025, another complication arose. Muskan was pregnant. It was revealed that she was expecting a child, presumably Sahil's, though the timeline overlapped with her husband's presence. In November 2025, while incarcerated in the Meerut District Jail, Muskan went into labor. She was transferred to the Lala Lajpat Rai Memorial Medical College, where she gave birth to a baby girl. The birth of a child to a mother awaiting trial for the brutal murder of her husband added a layer of tragic irony to the case. The infant remained with Muskan in the women's barracks, as is permitted under Indian law for young children of female prisoners. Conclusion. A society shaken. As of early 2026, the trial is ongoing. The prosecution is seeking the harshest possible punishment, citing the rarest of rare doctrine due to the premeditated and gruesome nature of the dismemberment. The defense is likely to argue circumstantial mitigation, but the recovery of the body from the couple's possession makes a defense difficult. The Muskan Rastogi murder case remains a grim reminder of the darkness that can fester behind closed doors. It stripped away the facade of the perfect family, the hard-working officer, the waiting wife, to reveal a core of betrayal and violence. For the family of Saurabh Rajput, the tragedy is absolute. They lost a son to a plot hatched by the woman he supported. For the 6-year-old daughter, the trauma is twofold: the death of her father and the imprisonment of her mother. The Blue Drum case, as it is now colloquially known in Meerut, stands as a chilling testament to how quickly human relationships can devolve into monstrosity when obsession takes the wheel.